I'm hitting the record. So, okay, welcome. Thanks, Cindy. Welcome everyone to our Empathy Tent team meeting. So we wanted to start, since we have some new people, to go around, do some introductions. I'm Edwin Rutch, Director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, and have been working for the past 10 to 15 years on fostering more empathy in the world, and have the cultureofempathy.com website, which is a resource for that. So that's me.
I'm Lou Zweier. I'm from Petaluma, California. I'm a filmmaker and a teacher of conflict resolution and communication and leadership. And I've been working with Edwin for 3-4 months.
I'm Indy Young, and I am a software design researcher who wrote a book about practical empathy, and I'm exploring the problem space and the problem space researcher. I met Edwin a couple of years back when he was interested in what I was writing about, and I'm trying to sort of understand. I lurk on this a lot to try to understand the vocabulary and the wording that you guys use.
Thanks. Bill, you want to go?
Sure. Bill Filler. I'm a recently retired special education teacher. I work with severely emotionally disturbed kids, and my experience has really shown the need of a lot of my students and what we need to do, and a more empathetic society is necessary for them to thrive. So I'm here.
Okay, thanks. Bob, you want to go?
Hello, I'm Bob Brown from Thousand Oaks, California, and I'm a retired high school math and English teacher, and I am a student of the evolution of consciousness.
All right.
Fits right in there. Good to be here.
Good to see you again. Linda, would you like to go?
My name is Linda Sunderland, and I live in Calgary, Canada, and I'm an instructor in disability studies at a college here, and do a lot of research in sort of disability management, sort of human rights advocacy kind of things.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to mute you because there is a little bit of background, and if you're needing to speak, if you just wave. Okay. And oh, it doesn't even allow. Oh, there it is. Mute. Okay, great. Dave.
I'm Dave Gottfried. I'm a private investor and an artist. I've been working with Edwin since April, doing political events where we've been hoping to get people to do dialogues.
Okay.
I like your lighting, Dave. It's very noir.
Very efficient.
Okay, well, at the beginning of the meeting, we like to start with some empathic listening practice. And so most everyone knows how to do that. Perhaps, Lou, you're always so good at explaining how it works. And plus you're working on the video to make that happen. Would you be so kind as I impose on you to just explain how the empathic listening process works? And
So it's a structured listening process. So rather than everyone just talking whenever they want to, it's someone becomes the speaker, and that person can speak for up to whatever time limit we set. And the time limit is usually set based on how many people there are and how long we're planning to go, some kind of math based on that. But usually we do like 2 minutes or 3 minutes a piece. You just have a few people, then it might be 5 minutes a piece. And the person who's speaking can speak up to that time limit. And before they start speaking, they choose someone else in the circle to listen to them or to be the reflector. Everybody listens to them, but to reflect back what the speaker is saying. And so then the speaker starts talking and everyone's listening and the reflector is also listening. And then when the person pauses, the reflector says, so this is what I'm hearing or something like that, and then feeds back what they're hearing in their own words. If the person who's speaking goes on longer than the reflector can take in information, then the reflector can also say, can you hold on a second? Let me reflect back what you said so far. I do that a lot because I can't hold too much. And sometimes listeners have trouble doing that. So also sometimes the facilitator will break in and say, okay, can you pause right there and let the listener reflect back? And the listener also is not supposed to respond to the person, like respond to what they're saying. They're just supposed to reflect back what they're hearing. That's another thing that the facilitator will do. If they hear someone responding, they'll say, no, wait, that's not the process. You're really just reflecting back what you're hearing. And then the person who's speaking can say, yes, thank you. That is what I was saying. Or they could say, well, no, you missed this part. And at the end of their time, as a way of kind of releasing their time, you say, yes, I feel fully heard. Or if you don't actually feel fully heard, you could say, I feel heard enough, to move on. And then the listener becomes the speaker, and the new speaker chooses someone else in the circle to listen to them. And the idea is for everyone to get a chance to speak and to listen. So, generally we don't have people just go back and forth like two people listening and speaking to each other. We distribute it around. I think that's it.
Yeah, okay, thanks. And we're trying to do this at the beginning of the meeting, like the first, 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes to an hour. And it's to practice the empathic listening, because it's the empathy tent team. We take the tent out, and that's like a core practice, is to listen to people and also to teach them mutual empathy, take part in an empathy circle. And it's a way of, the topic we have is, it's whatever's alive in you. If there's something that's really burning that you'd like to share, have energy about. And so it's also an opportunity to kind of get that out, anything that's kind of going on for you. Or you can talk about the empathy tent, kind of projects that we're doing. So it's somewhat open at the beginning here.
I'd also like to add that the other reason that we practice all the time at the beginning of meetings is because we want people in the group to take this practice to other places and do it, teach it to other people, take it into other groups. And so, building skill with it and experience with it is helpful for doing that.
Yeah. So this is all good material for our training video too, that we're working on, and how to take part in an empathy circle in a video. So I'm going to go and clip this part out, and we can review it. Okay, and so who would like to keep time? Maybe since there's a larger group, we do 3 minutes. Can someone do timekeeping? 3-minute time? Anybody willing?
I don't want to do timekeeping.
Okay.
I'll do time.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Then who would like to start, and who would you like to speak to? And Linda, your video is out. And I guess we should turn your audio on, because we won't know if you're going to speak. Let's see.
So Bob, are you wanting to go fourth, or are you wanting to go now?
I have a 4 out of 5 urgency.
Yeah, that was something that Timothy brought to one of the previous meetings. Is like, this is like from 0 to 5 in terms of intensity of wanting to speak. So, like after a little while, we can go. So I'm seeing 2 and 4's 0. Okay, Bob, you're up.
Lou, would you please listen to me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, the business cards have arrived. Thanks to Edwin for looking me up with the Vistaprint folks, and we have Southern California business cards for the Bob Brown guy, and that's really good. The t-shirt, the official empathy t-shirt, has been ordered, and the official Southern California empathy table banner has been ordered. Thank you, Bill, for the table and the chairs, and the banner should be delivered on December 4th. And, once all that stuff is here, we're going to go live in various venues here in Ventura County.
Great.
And also, Spencer Sims.
So hang on, let me just reflect that part back.
Okay.
So I'm hearing a lot of excitement and enthusiasm and like celebration around you getting all the tools that you need to start your empathy events and practices where you are. You got your cards, you got your shirts, you got the banners, and you're excited about that. That's what I'm hearing.
Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Okay.
Also, Dave, thank you for working with Spencer Sims, who will be hopefully joining us for an organizing event and get an LA person, because Ventura County is about 40 miles northwest of Los Angeles. And I do not have the resources to get down to LA very often, but when Spencer goes on board, we can have a solidified, unified solidarity here in SoCal.
So I'm also hearing gratitude to Edwin for helping you get all the pieces together and for connecting you up with Spencer. And I'm hearing that you are excited about Spencer's involvement because it's going to provide a kind of support that, you know, you really need, and you wouldn't be able to like do events in LA as easily without him.
I feel fully heard. Thank you. So things are going along great down here.
Great.
Okay. You're happy with how things are going?
Yep.
Are you complete?
I am done.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
51 seconds to spare.
So I guess it's me. So I will ask Indy to listen to me.
Okie doke.
Are you up for that? Okay.
I am up for that.
Let's see. What do I want to talk about?
You're getting a little bit of an echo.
Yeah. Still?
From me?
Not sure.
I think it's Mindy. I think you're a little loud. Your microphone might be a little loud.
Let me.
You're saying Indy?
Indy.
I think if Indy turns down the microphone, oh yeah, that would work too.
Please hold.
Well, and feedback really can come from anywhere. I mean, it's
All right, here we are.
practice to mute your mic if you're not speaking. But okay, so let's see. What's up for me is last night I did an empathy circle at a group that I've been going to for about 3 or 4 months. It's an interfaith discussion group that's here in Petaluma, and people come from various different places, and they're of all different faiths. And we don't really have an agenda. It's just, you know, people talk about whatever's on their mind and what's important to them. And the last time I was at the meeting, I was telling them about the empathy tent work that I was doing and the process we were using. And they said, that sounds really interesting. And I said, well, do you want to try it at the next meeting? And they said, yes. So at this meeting, we did that. And people really got a lot out of it, even though we had a lot of people. We had like 11 people at the meeting, which is much bigger than normal. And we got started late. And so I limited it to 2 minutes per person because I wanted everyone to get around, and I wanted to try to get 2 rounds of empathy in. And so it was kind of short, you know, the amount of time, and people were really just like getting to talk and reflected back once, maybe twice. And so, but even with that shortness, everyone, when we did a debrief about how it went for them, they were like saying, wow, this is great. And I realized things I hadn't realized before, and I felt heard in ways I hadn't felt heard before. So it was really, you know, it was quite great. And I was really excited by that.
So I hear you, well, I see you smile, and you're kind of thrilled that the interfaith group wanted to try it out. But I also see that you were surprised, or hear that you were surprised that it actually worked with 11 people, even though you were limited to 2 minutes each and you only got around twice. That surprisingly at the end, the feedback was that they actually got kind of to learn a lot and feel really well heard. So perhaps this was a good verification or validation that the circle was working.
Yeah, I mean, the surprise wasn't, yes, thank you for hearing me. The surprise wasn't so much that it was the size of the group. It was that even with just 2 minutes, of speaking and only doing one round. I thought, it's better if it's 3 minutes and people at least get 2 rounds, maybe 3 rounds. That's when you really start to feel the impact. And I still believe that's true, but it was interesting to see that even with that small amount of time, it had a pretty strong effect.
Okay, so I hear that the surprise was really just about the shortness, and it was the interest. It was really maybe interesting to find out that even though there was just 2 minutes and not 3, people were getting a lot out of it.
Yeah, and I'm realizing in saying this that I could have split the group in 2. And then it would have been 5 people in each group, and they would have had longer times. Although I would not have been there to monitor what was going on in the other group. But so that's a strategy for me to think about for next time.
Okay, so I hear you're conjecturing that if you had split it into 2, it might have given people longer time to talk, and you might want to explore that next time, even though you can't monitor both circles at once.
Thanks. I feel fully heard.
Okay, now I have to think of something to say. I haven't been doing anything. What do I say? I can talk to Bill, let's say.
Okay, I'm listening.
Okay. Can you listen and time at the same time?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
A man of many talents. Oh, very good. Okay. I guess maybe I could say something that Edwin invited me to participate in an empathy circle with James Damore, who's the Google memo guy. And it was a very non-confrontational circle, and Edwin said afterward that he was sort of maybe slightly deflated that it wasn't really what the circle was about was confrontation. But it was interesting to me because in the weeks since then, I've sort of finally figured out what my confrontation is with him, and I keep wondering to myself if I did it over again, how could I force myself to be more confrontational? I don't know if that would be the right approach or whatever. So I've just been thinking about it a lot.
Okay. So you were thinking about the Edwin Damore, the Google guy, and reflecting on that it kind of went kind of smoothly as you were giving your reaction as a woman in the industry. And then you're wondering, well, should I have been should it have gone so smoothly? And should I have asked more pointed questions? And then, and just basically questioning.
Well, it was really funny that you said it was Edwin Damore.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because it's James. And James.
Oh, James.
And that's Edwin here, yeah, our illustrious leader. But actually, no, it went smoothly and I wasn't questioning it at the time because I personally use a different kind of empathy. It is not for mediation when I'm trying to develop cognitive empathy across different participants for my research. So it was an exercise in trying to do this, and of course it wasn't confrontational, but it wasn't until afterwards that I finally started thinking about what I would have confronted him about. I did mention 2 things. I said, I do feel this in interpersonal, but also it's embedded in the environment, and he did not pick up on that. And since then I've sort of recognized that he is coming from a point of view where he doesn't recognize his own cultural blindness, maybe, or his own, the fact that he's trying to solve things based on his own approach. He wants to fix things as opposed to listen and be inclusive.
Okay. So you kind of corrected my impression that you work with empathy skills in a different way, and so therefore you weren't expecting to be confrontational. And then you were, just this James Damore, I got it right. He was sort of trying to fix things and he couldn't get beyond his own cultural bias and point of view. in order to absorb and truly hear a different point of view and possibly come to a greater understanding.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And how does one do that? I mean, this is a question to Edwin within the confines of a circle.
Mm-hmm. Right. So then there's a question about that. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. All right, Dave.
I'm here.
Okay, great. So I was very excited to hear, I just felt at that meeting when I was going down and Bob was talking about what he was doing, I just felt, here's a way to just, plug some energy in. So it's great that that energy has been reciprocated, and it's exactly what I would hope for, in as far as Bob being so happy and energized by, everything that's happening. And so I like to hope we can create more of that. And then I had followed up on some of the links that I think Edwin, that you gave me, or that Edwin gave me about creating a curriculum. I went online and I saw the curriculum that was there, which kind of looked like a college syllabus. I'm sorry. So maybe I should stop there.
So you're excited that your enthusiasm was reciprocated by Bob down in LA, which he really demonstrated today with his 4 fingers, and that he's really as excited as you are about what you brought down, and that feels good. And you started looking. It wasn't quite clear. Is it the curriculum that already exists on Edwin's site? At the
Yes.
curriculum, and it seemed like
it's an incomplete curriculum.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's an incomplete curriculum, at least what I could see. There was one seemed to be lesson and thing, and then there was an outline of about 20 units, but there were no lesson plans for them.
So you see the outline of what looks like a college curriculum, but there's some work to do to put some flesh on the bones.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm looking forward to setting up a meeting or series of meetings with Edwin, and in order to, because I think a college curriculum is a little bit excessive for people, and what I think we would want to do in creating a curriculum is have a simplified, easy curriculum that people could take step by step into complexity as they feel comfortable. And so therefore there might be a few things they do before they go out. Then maybe they would go out with a mentor, and then okay, they might go out for a mentor and things like that. And so therefore I want to talk to Edwin about, he mentioned about different types of empathy circles and things like that, and sort of a skill set. And then when to use a particular type of empathy circle in what situations. So we want to make those things clear, and then start to, create a curriculum for the tables and things like that. Although, of course, it could be used anywhere.
So sounds like you're a little concerned that the skeleton that exists is overly ambitious for a lot of circumstances, and that you would like to I'm not clear exactly what you're trying to say. I mean, beyond that.
Sorry. Yeah, I know. Basically, what I'd like to do is to simplify and then modularize the curriculum, so that people don't have to take such a big chunk all at once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So you want to step. It sounds like you want to make a progression of
Correct.
steps. You absorb the first step, and then a sequence of steps.
Right.
Modular system.
Right. Which would include an experiential component.
Right, which includes circles, I guess. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I feel heard.
Yeah. I'll speak to Edwin.
Okay. Timeout, Bob?
Linda has left the room. The
Yeah, I
meeting.
noticed. I didn't see any notice or email. I'm keeping an eye out. She was on a cell phone, so I don't know if anything could have happened with the phone. She's in a library at a university in Calgary, so she'll come back in if she can, I'm sure.
I told Edwin I told you yesterday I spoke to this woman who I actually went to elementary school with in second grade, started in second grade, and whose house we did Cub Scouts at. Who it turns out is teaching listening in Ithaca, where I grew up, and she's really serious about it. She teaches large groups. She does small stuff. It was more than I could take in, actually. I mean, we just had a conversation. We didn't do a process. So she has some acronym that has to do with a whole bunch of things which you have to learn to listen. It's really all about listening more than dialogue. And I'll stop there. Go
okay,
ahead.
So you're just conveying how you had talked to me, mentioned to me about a woman that you know since second grade, and she's in Ithaca and is actually really serious about this listening work that she does and has a whole program around it and teaches it.
Right, and she is very interested in hooking up with us. I think she has some different approaches than what we're doing. She really believes that one should be visualizing what the other person is saying. That sounds a little strange, but trying to build a movie in a sense of what the other person is saying and visualizing what these emotions are. So anyway, I look forward to having her join us. Mm-hmm. She was really excited to hear about what we're doing and to teach us what she's doing, actually. And she thought what we were doing was really interesting. The other thing that's happening is that she's trying to work with a Cornell professor who is some sort of neuroscientist they're going to do some listening and some, I'm not sure if it's dialogue work, but process work where they're going to try to quantify what's going on in people's brains while this is happening, which sounds interesting.
Okay, so with her listening process, she's very interested in what we're doing, and part of her listening process, there's a way of listening where you visualize what people are saying. And it sounds like you're not quite clear on the process, but she wants to join us and kind of maybe even share some of her techniques with us, and is kind of working on with the Cornell with the professor to kind of study the listening and quantify it. And
yes, I feel heard.
Okay. Right, then I'll speak to Lou. Okay, there's so much to say. 3 minutes. There's not enough time. First thing is yesterday we had through our Indivisible Unity group, Bill was there, and we did an empathy circle around how do we create more unity within the left. And it was a really nice, meeting where we were taking notes during the meeting, and the whole process, it just kind of evolved that we got a project out of it within an hour and a half. It was kind of amazing, which was to hold empathy circles with some of the candidates running for the local California Assembly District 15. And so some people in the group have taken on the responsibility of, reaching out and kind of getting the ball rolling around that. So I'm kind of excited about that. It happened so easily, effortlessly. It was kind of amazing.
Yeah, so I'm seeing a lot of excitement and joy around having this project got created, and that you're excited about the project. You think it's great, and the process by which it got formulated also, you're excited by that the meeting went very smoothly and efficiently, and that people stepped up to do parts of it. And so you're just so excited and happy about how it happened and what's happening.
Yeah. And there'd be like 8 or 9 candidates, doing an empathy circle, and kind of the mechanisms I wanted to kind of put out there, like what would be a good topic, how do we handle a large group, and kind of techniques, and it would be up on the stage, and which kind of stuff we talked about before. So I just see a lot of possibility, and it's an aspect I talked to Dave about before, is I think candidates, people who are running for an office, who haven't won before, that they're kind of open to just trying, getting publicity. So there's a real need they have for publicity. So that could be an opportunity for us to go in and say, well, we'll set this up for you. They do an empathy circle, they get some publicity, but so does, empathy in this approach. So I just see that as a good strategy.
So I'm hearing that you're just really excited about the number of people involved, that it's candidates who are involved, that you're excited about exploring the different techniques that might be used for handling such a large group and doing the process effectively with that many people. And you're also excited by the fact that these are new candidates, not existing political people, so they're more open to like doing this, and really and you're thinking that it may be a really kind of deep and meaningful circle because people are more open about actually communicating as opposed to just kind of taking positions or something like that.
Yeah. Not quite that, just that they're open because they're looking for publicity. So they're willing to try something like this. So they're going for their self-interest kind of.
So their willingness to try something new, and that's also going to be bring good publicity to the process.
Yeah. And the other thing is with Mark DeSaulnier, we wanted to meet with him. And since we've been getting the runaround, we're trying to set up a meeting with that's Congressman Mark DeSaulnier with his staff. So they said, yeah, we could meet with them and the district person. So we're trying to find a date for that. And we had thought Wednesday, but I just got an email from the group of the students, the empathy class at Cal, that they're asking us to bring the empathy tent Sunday 12 to 4 because they're going to do their end of the year giving out snacks, which I did last year, which was a lot of fun. They had all these snacks and they were just throwing bags to all the students. It's their way of giving back to this or whatever, giving to the other students. And it was just a lot of fun. It really created great, publicity, awareness of the tent. And, this is a place we get all this freebie food and stuff, like potato chips and cookies. And they put together a whole little bag, and they had their whole class there putting these things together and kind of throwing them out there and stuff. It was really a lot of fun.
So it sounds like you're also having excited about having gotten a breakthrough with DeSaulnier's office and getting a time to actually set up and go talk to them and begin some kind of process with them. But then there's also like a conflict because the Empathy Temp people at Berkeley, the class, wants to do something in the same time frame, and you love doing that. That's really fun and great publicity, and so there's a little bit of a conflict of how to work.
There's not a conflict because we can just schedule a different time. We haven't fixed it Wednesday, so we just have to find a different time. And Linda, I'm sorry that she's not here because I talked to her. She's actually a curriculum developer, and she really wants to put in time to develop an empathy curriculum. So it's another project to get together. We're going to meet with John and Sandra on Friday at 10 a.m. I think it is. So I want to see if Bill, if you can make that, or anybody else want to kind of form a team around the curriculum, kind of a empathy curriculum project. So.
Yeah, just email that out to me or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then there's also this project, the curriculum project, a meeting on Friday. So you feel like that's coming together too.
Yeah, if anybody wants to join that. So I don't know, I guess.
And I wanted to understand. So I'm not sure that I did get that. Were you saying that you want to move the DeSallier meeting or move the?
We would have to move the DeSallier meeting because that was just something I threw out there. They didn't suggest it. So if we just move it to Thursday or something, if everybody can make that, then we can do both events. So there's no, so
that's pending.
That's,
is that what you're saying?
Yeah, even if we say Thursday or whatever, we don't know if DeSallier's office is going to say that works for them. They haven't confirmed anything, so. But
are you definitely planning to move the DeSallier meeting because you?
Yeah.
People who signed up for that, I guess, me and
John and Dave. We have to find another way.
You need to keep that in mind. Okay.
Yeah. So sounds like my time should be up, but
yeah, it is.
Okay, I feel heard.
Okay. So are we stopping or are we continuing to go?
We could go a little bit more at 7:40, maybe give another 10.
Okay. All right. So Bob, are you willing to listen to me?
I'm listening.
Okay. So I'm also excited about all the things that I heard Edwin just describe, all the different projects. And I plan to participate in some of them. And so I think it's really exciting to have gotten breakthroughs on those different things, or to have things that are beginning to move forward in those different areas. I guess I want to say that what Bill was describing as a way to approach curriculum development, that the introduction to the material should be kind of what's called scaffolding, which is you start with something simple and you build on that, and that it should have an experiential component, and that there should be step-by-step stuff. I think that's all really sound. So it's exciting to me to hear you describe that, Bill.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Let me pause here and listen.
Yes.
I hear you saying that Edwin's discussion of the DeSallier meeting and the empathy class meeting are wonderfully interesting. And then there is the curriculum development aspect that you find can be very helpful to move the project forward.
Yes. Yeah, and the really on the curriculum thing, it was really that what I heard Bill describing, because I'm a bit of an instructional designer myself, sounds very sound, and so I was excited to hear him describing something that I think is going to be very good.
So you're glad that Bill is describing a sound approach to curriculum development.
Yeah, cool. I don't think I have anything else, so I'm complete.
Okay. I'm complete too, and I pass.
Okay, that's Dave. He's passed.
Dave has 4 + 2. That's a 6.
Oh, it's a 7.
Okay.
You're muted.
I'll just speak quickly to Mindy on this curriculum thing.
It's Indy.
Indy, I'm sorry. I apologize. I've been doing a mediation empathy circle thing with Edwin with some members of my family who are longtime combatants. And I think what's been interesting to me, just in terms of this curriculum stuff, is, and I don't know what one does about it. Edwin, so it's Edwin is the professional, and I'm trusted by both members of the family. So, and I know the whole context, which Edwin doesn't. So I sometimes speak for one or the other of them when I advocate one person's position or another. So, I'm sort of doing in some sense, more of the mediation than Edwin is, but Edwin is, pointing out, what's empathic and just bringing the whole empathic approach and somehow bringing that all back in. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, when I think about replicating what we're doing, not having that, first of all, that incredible empathic presence that Edwin brings to these situations. I mean, how do we, we can teach the process and people can do it, but how do we teach the facilitators? How do we create experts? How do we do that part is something I don't really, it's like we need, we do need a college curriculum for some people, and then we need a more basic curriculum for the rest of the population.
So it sounds like the experience of working with your combatant family members and with Edwin, and also hearing about this curriculum makes you wonder, maybe we need different levels, like a college level curriculum for the people who are going to teach it, and a different level for the people who are but who are going to employ it, but don't necessarily need to teach it. And so you're toying around with ideas, or at least just wondering out loud?
Yeah, or maybe there's like a leadership type cadre of, revolutionaries that are going to do more in-depth brainwashing. I don't know, but I'm just, I'm wondering, like I'm thinking about, one of the things I'm excited about my friend in Ithaca is that I've been thinking about spending some time there because my parents are old, I have a friend who's sick and all this stuff, and I've been thinking about trying to do some work there, but, I'm aware that I'm not Edwin, and, it's fine to have some ideas and a little bit of experience and stuff, but it's not the same. And that's something that I'm not sure how we deal with in trying to spread this whole thing.
So what I hear is your uncertainty about whether you maybe are as strong a representative to spread this around as Edwin is, how to become that strong, or how to spread it maybe when everybody can't be that level of strength?
Yeah, I'm not really just thinking about myself. I'm just thinking about just the general problem of, it's like we need people who have deep levels of experience in this stuff who can really be the center of these teams that we would want out there somehow, it seems to me, although, that's all I have to say.
Okay, so it sounds like maybe there are some ideas running through your head, maybe having stronger people being the centers of little cadres or teams, and this idea of your friend in Ithaca who's got this approach to it maybe has set you to thinking about, how is it that we teach this at different levels and spread it around?
Yeah, that's good enough.
Okay. I don't really have anything else to say, so I will
Who's
also
got looks like 3, Lou, 4. Okay.
So I'm feeling strongly just because I want to respond a little bit to what Dave was saying. So I have some experience in the leadership program that I teach in. Participants have 2 coaches.
Who are you speaking to?
Yeah, good point. So I'll speak to Bill.
Okay.
Is it okay? Is that all right with you, Bill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So in the leadership team that I teach in, each participant has 2 coaches, sometimes 3. And so what I've learned from that is the power of, or what happens when you co-facilitate. So I think co-facilitation is a really good way for people to learn the deep skills that you're talking about, Dave. So it's not an intellectual process, it's an experiential process that you do it, you're in it and you do it, or you're in it and you're watching someone with a lot of skill doing it, and you're also part of it, so you're thinking about that. And so you can ask the more skilled person, the mentor, questions about why they did what they did, or you're learning from seeing what they did, or you're co-facilitating and you're leading part of the time or the whole time, and then they're giving you feedback on things that you did. So that is a powerful learning model. I think co-facilitation is a really good way to learn a complex skill like facilitation and like empathic listening. I also think this is one of the things that I've been very attracted to with this process. I think the structure of the process actually is very good at guiding people to sound practice. So even if you don't have a lot of skillful facilitation, and I really don't have enough experience actually to say this, because I haven't been in that many circles yet, and I haven't been in that many circles where there are like a lot of very unskilled communicators, to see how much does the process really provide bumpers for them to hear each other, even though they're not that skilled. But I think the structure provides a lot of help to people for listening to each other and hearing each other.
So Lou was saying that he thinks that some of your concern about the training module can be solved through co-facilitation, which is an experiential process where you can take on various roles, the facilitator or a helper, and ask questions, get feedback. And then that would develop the skills. And then the second part, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on here.
The second part was about that the process itself actually provides a lot of structure.
Right.
Guide
Okay.
people.
So right, and so you're not playing with kerosene here. The process itself tends to foster good judgment and balance and things like that. So therefore, the practice of it itself tends to make one more skilled innately.
Yeah. Well, yes. Although I'm actually saying that I think, and I really don't know this for sure, but I think that the process actually helps people who are not very good communicators actually communicate.
Right.
Not so much that it builds facilitators, but. Yeah.
So even at the most basic level, the practice then builds skills, communication skills.
Thank you. Yes, I feel heard.
Good. Yeah, and I wanted to also respond a little bit to Dave.
Who are you speaking to? Are you speaking to him, Dave?
Oh yeah, I'll speak to David. Sure. And just to as I see it, again, it would be very flexible. Like I'd be very interested to have your friend from Ithaca, come in and add to the curriculum and add things. And I don't, although I have to say that personally, I don't see a cadre as far as you could, you can have a skill and you can build your skills just like you do that. But I see it really trying to be very independent. Empathy should be a natural human thing. We should expect it in people. And I think that we'll be well rewarded if we do. I don't mean to be naive, but I think that, once people, it should be easy to be an ambassador of empathy. Designing a curriculum like that might be more difficult than, easier said than done. And I'm done.
So you're pushing back a little bit on this idea of a cadre, even though I'm not quite sure what I meant by that, but
Sure. Humorously.
I guess you feel that there, it's almost like it's something that's in people. We just have to bring it out. It sounds like what you're saying almost.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
And that the process brings it out, I guess. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say that, and yes. And my experience with kids, that's what I had to go. I had to go in and find that. I had to find the empathy. I had to find it. And I found it. And I'm telling you, I'm here to testify. It's powerful.
Mm-hmm. So your experience tells you that it is there. You just have to find it. And, and yeah.
Thank you. I feel.
Yeah. Do you want to speak, Dave, or can I say something?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I do want to speak. I guess what I'm trying to, I'll speak to Lou. I guess what I'm trying to say somehow in some sense is, Edwin has 15 years of thinking about this stuff and living it. And there's just a kind of presence. Now, I don't know if Edwin had this presence 15 years ago or not. But there's a kind of presence that he brings, not in every moment of his life, but in this thing I'm doing with my family, I might say something and when it's his turn, he'll say it in a different way that is a better way, that is, in a more empathic or a more clearly, emotional, feeling statement. And what I'm saying is, it's useful to have like a priest in some sense, that kind of a person, somebody who is, everybody can see as a master. To have a master is a big deal, I think. And, that's what I'm trying to say. And I don't know how, that's just takes time, and we'll probably need to draw from different disciplines actually, because, this isn't the only way to be a master.
So I hear you saying, Dave, that you recognize the difference in skill level between yourself and Edwin, and you're wondering, how do you get from where you are to where he is? And that it's great to, and not just for yourself, but for others. Like I said, how do people get from one level of skill to another? And that it's great to have an example to learn from and to try to emulate. Is that right?
Yeah, and we talked about, if we get this New Yorker article, what we would try to do, for example, and we talked about, maybe some event would be organized in some city or something where different people in the community would come together, and we would go and we would do a weekend workshop teaching this process to a bunch of people. Right. And I think, you need somebody to lead something like that. You need a bunch of people to do something like that. But those people in a situation like that need to really be experts, and have because the expert projects a kind of authority that is required in some sense. It feels like to me when you're teaching, which is when you're trying to teach a bunch of people. So, I agree though, the process brings out the best in people. I do agree with that. Definitely. That seems right to me.
So I'm hearing you say that, what you imagine is having a training of some kind, and having people who are very skilled leading the training so that people can learn more than what they know. And then you're also recognizing that the process does seem to bring out the best in people. That's what you see. You've observed that.
Right. And maybe that, but I'm open to what Bill is saying, which is that we all have it in us, and maybe an organic process is just as good in some sense. I don't know. You just throw out the seeds and it happens. I don't know.
Yes. So you're open to the idea that it might happen organically, and that it's just part of people's nature.
Yeah. I feel heard.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think So my experience is that
Who are you
it's a
speaking to?
combination of skill building.
You want to just say it out? We're at the top of the hour, so we can just kind of open it up now to just. So.
Okay. So I do want to say, so my experience is that building this kind of skill is a combination of skill building exercises, practicing it, and being mentored in it. That's what produces the fastest growth, let's say, in somebody doing it. And I also just wanted to say that when Bill was describing some of the stuff that he was talking about, I realized that I think the key thing about the structure that makes a difference is that the listener has to reflect back what the person is saying before they speak or anyone else speaks. And that, what happens in normal conversation is somebody speaks and then somebody answers it. And so there's an argument that goes back and forth, and often communication breaks down because what people are giving back and forth to each other is their judgments of one another or their judgments of what the people are saying. And having to reflect back what the person is saying breaks that pattern. Or at least it puts a lot of space between one expression and the other. And while that doesn't completely solve it, you could still have breakdown and you could still have things that don't go well. I think just that piece of structure results in a lot of people shifting what they might normally say to each other.
There's another level too of the reflection of the judgment kind of transforms it somehow too. It kind of takes an edge off of it and almost kind of, it's like the empathy kind of rolls over the judgment. It kind of washes it clean or something, metaphorically, right? So there's something about that just in the process itself, kind of that happens. And I would just say that, after Thanksgiving, my sister and sister-in-law and their spouses had an empathy circle. And it's like, oh, we don't need you, Edwin. We know how to do this, So it's like, they're still talking about the tortoise issue. So, but anyway, they did it. They said it took about an hour, and it kind of went pretty smooth. So yeah, there's a lot of other issues around, how to motivate people to do this and so forth. It's kind of the harder part that I haven't, cracked yet. So, so one thing I was thinking, if we could go down the list of kind of projects to just kind of,
I have to bow out right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, you guys.
Well, before you go, I did want to check if we can connect about the James Damore, because I've tried a couple reaching out, and it's to women. It's they haven't followed through or didn't reply. So I thought maybe you might have some ideas, or maybe if the invitation came from a woman, that would be different, or I don't know. It's like,
yeah, I did write to you that suggestion, maybe if it were an invitation from me or something, but then I've been gone all month doing all these workshops, so I haven't had a chance to see if you've written back about that.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great to try to go down the list. So.
Okay, yeah, if you can sort of guide me to that. Okay. I'm like most people, running like way too many projects at once. So unless somebody sticks my nose in it, I'm not going to do it.
Okay, well, I'm going to grab your nose. Invitation there.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
right.
Thanks.
See you.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Okay, so...
and I just wanted to say, too, since you brought up the Damore thing, I made a note when you were talking about that I think the question you put in the circle makes a big difference on whether there's a lot of conflict in the circle or not, or what, so that's just might be something. If you're looking to bring out the differences between what people in the circle think about something, the question that you put in the circle will have a big impact on that, I think.
Well, that would go into getting this California Assembly 15 thing organized. Like, what would be the topic? It's coming out of a group which is working on how do we create more unity on the left, So I was looking at a question about how do we bring people together. And then it's kind of like helping with that project, and would seem like a positive question. So that was one thing, is what does everybody think about that as something along that line as a question.
Right, I was commenting more on the Damore circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's true for every circle. The question that you put in is an important thing to consider.
Yeah, so I guess that would be, what would be the question if we had with him with feminists, like some kind of, that would be that's the thing we're looking at.
It might be, what was the thing that upset you most in the memo that you wrote?
We could see just like areas of agreement and disagreement. Like what are the issues separating the centrist Democrats and the more progressive, whatever Democrats, something like that.
That's what the candidates.
Right. Yeah, and where do they see themselves, and
Okay. So there's a question, going to be a question for the candidates as well as a question for Damore with the feminists. What would that be? And
yeah, I think another good question for the Damore circle would be, what would you like? What do you think the other person doesn't really understand that you would like them to understand? That would be a good one.
Just making some notes about that.
Yeah.
When we did the circle yesterday, one thing that was really handy was that we took notes of what was said. And there's the process, the dynamic facilitation process, which is around that, is capturing what is said in the discussion and kind of giving it a shape. It was almost as if doing that in that group kind of brought us to sort of an action. So it's something to kind of look at in terms of like another step in terms of the empathic listening, taking notes, while I'm not quite sure how it works in this situation, but having an actual question, it just kind of gave everything a shape and a direction, which was really.
This was in a face-to-face meeting?
It was online, just like this, and Bill was there too.
So where were you taking the notes?
In a Google Doc.
Okay, so everyone could see them.
Everybody could see them.
I can't see them. I don't know how to see them.
Oh, you couldn't see them because you were on a cell phone or something.
Well, I was on an iPad, but now I've switched over to my laptop, but I still can't see them.
Oh, I didn't share. I didn't share the link to where I was putting notes in. So anyway, that was another kind of a project issue that we're kind of looking at. Okay, so
who wants to say something?
Yeah, just another quick question for the candidates. I think healthcare is very important and lends itself to empathy and would be a natural on-ramp there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and also healthcare, where is agreement around unity? Then there was also the question of how to deal with like 9 participants. Just having, it seems like that's kind of overwhelming for on a stage to have 9 participants.
Mm-hmm.
So does it seem like too much to you too, Lou, just as having?
Well, for me, it's kind of simple math, so how long is it going to go on and how many people are there? You got to give them at least 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And then, if everyone's only going to get to talk once, given the number of people, and you're going to run out of time, then that kind of kills it. I think for a good process, you want to have people express themselves at least twice, maybe 3 times, and then you also want maybe a little time for reflection afterwards. And so, given the length of whatever the length is, I don't know. That's a hard problem. One way to solve it would be not to have all 9 people.
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mhm.
What about pre-circles online? Get a sense of what one's dealing with.
In
Yeah.
terms of selecting who would participate and who not.
Yeah, or 2 pre-circles, divide the group into 2, have some pre-circles. I would ask the question, what do you see as impediments to unity, and have a little discussion. If people are willing to do that, have a pre-circle where we could get a little clearer idea of what the real, conflict points are, so that then on stage those things could be addressed. I don't know. It's just an idea.
I have just something I just want to throw up, a different format just to kind of like play with it and brainstorm with it. What about if you had an audience of constituents who, let's say, and the topic were healthcare, and they expressed their, they spoke for 2 minutes and they picked one of the candidates, and then the candidate then reflected what the constituent. So your candidate would have to show some skill in reflective listening and things like that. Just an idea.
Mm-hmm. Can make a note of that. But
Well, so I think what's interesting about what Bill just said is the idea of having the circle be some constituents and some representatives.
oh,
Not all representatives.
yeah.
I mean, I don't think, in response to what you were saying, Bill, I don't think we want to break the idea that everyone gets to speak and be heard. So you wouldn't want, if you had constituents talking and you had representatives reflecting them back, you would also want representatives to have a chance to talk and be reflected by others.
Right. Yeah, I know. It wasn't a fully baked idea, but but I was kind of thinking of, like, constituents would pick out a particular candidate, express themselves, they would reflect. You would do that for a certain amount of time, and then each of the candidates maybe give like a certain 3-minute reflection. So they would all have a chance to speak about that. But, that's just an idea, but just getting the constituents, because the reason I was thinking about it, because yesterday when we were talking about it, Edwin was saying that, rather than the online thing, if we could get a live thing going, then there's more publicity involved with it. And so I was trying to figure out a way to get all the candidates up there and make it into a live event that would also be manageable. So that was the genesis of my brainstorm.
Yeah, it's a good jumping off point. That reminded me, I gave a talk at Google. They had like 150 managers there, and they're doing a design, workshop, and they asked me to talk on empathy. I actually went there and I gave the talk and I asked them to reflect back what they were hearing me say. I was so nervous to do this because it was totally, and so I said the first thing and nobody said anything. The room was, I said, who wants to reflect what they heard me say? And the room was dead silence, and I had gone with the group though, and one of the people, I said, well, if nobody reflects, would you do it? And I said, okay. So he did it, and he's just a young, college graduate. He did the reflection, and it was done so beautifully. The whole room gave him an ovation for his reflection of what I said, because it was so exact. So anyway, it's like kind of shifting the dynamics, right? So any idea is a good idea because we can jump off it and kind of come up with other ideas. So yeah, Dave, you're muted. You're muted, Dave.
You're muted, Dave.
I want to get an understanding of where we're at right now. This is an idea at this point?
Yeah, it's an intention. We have our group who wants to do it. There's Will, who's in the group. He's really pushing it.
But you haven't got agreement from any of the candidates.
Yeah, one of the people in the group said, oh, I know so-and-so, council member in Berkeley. I'll email him. She emailed him, and within 30 minutes, he said he was interested. So
I think we should do it online. We should do it online first. I think we can get them, more of them to do it. I think we could get farther we could get a more substantial there wouldn't be the same time constraint and stuff. They could learn the process. They could get better at it. We could record it. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Because I think it's pretty important. It could, if we could get it out there as something people could start doing all over the place, I think it's going to be much more difficult to do it, to have it be as interesting if we have the constraints that a live event would have. That's my original initial take. Anyway.
Or one thing was to be doing it, do like a pre-circle where one of us listens to some of them, is we would do a pre-circle, just listening to model that, and then do like a group of 4, 2 groups of 4 or 5 in a circle. So I think there's different, I know that Will was really excited about doing it, in person, but it seems like it could be like a stepping stone. I mean, there could be, there's something about doing it in person too, but 9, it just seems like too much. It seems like way too unwieldy.
And we have to keep our mind on the goal. The goal is to bring people together, and how can we really make that happen? And so we want to be able to be as effective as possible have the process, the outcome, and the process be as effective as possible. I mean, I don't know. That's what it feels like to me. I mean, look how this works with us here. I could easily see it working online.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, and I did, the group I did last night was 11 people.
Yeah.
And it works. It just takes time. I mean, I don't know how much time you were planning for this. If you're going to do a thing with 11 people, you got to plan like at least 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
a long time, maybe 3. That's a long time for people to participate.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But it's a serious topic that people care about. So maybe they'd be willing to.
If it was like 5 people, I'd feel, oh, this is like easy. This is it. It's causing me some tension about how do we, pull it all together. Like
Why does it need to be so many people?
Well, if we want everybody who's running, otherwise we can just pick like maybe the top 5 candidates or something, or do two versions or
2. That's what I'm thinking.
two groups. Okay. I think, that's probably the best, because I just feel all kinds of nervousness about 9 people, so, okay, well, that's good. I can pass all that on then to Will and talk with our group. We're meeting, if anybody wants to join us next Tuesday, 7 o'clock to, specifically on this project. So, okay.
Edwin, I'm curious if the people at Google, after the student reflected you back, did they reflect you back after that?
Then a couple of people did it. Yeah, kind of like open the floodgate, open the gates for it. And
I was curious about that.
It was, it was like a different way of approaching it, and I was so nervous about shifting the dynamics, instead of just talking. But now, as I look back on it, it was like I'm so glad I did it for the experience, So. Okay, so then, just wanted to go down the list. The Saulnier, then, I think that, there's no fixed date, so it's like, it could be, would it work for Thursday, Lou and Dave, for you guys? Because it would be great, it'd be so much fun to do
I'm wondering.
Yes, it looks like Thursday would work for me.
Okay, I was doing 2 o'clock because it was like when you had open usually, Dave. So
that's good. I'm wondering whether you should ask them when they give us some times that work for them. But you could try.
They specifically asked for us to give them time.
Yeah,
so
we're gonna have to be where at 2 o'clock?
It would be in Richmond at the city hall.
That's 2 o'clock.
Barrett.
Yep, 2 o'clock is good for me.
Okay, then if you guys are good, then we just need to see if John can do it. And then who could do Berkeley, Sproul Plaza, whatever I said, the 12 to 4? Or, let's see.
I don't know. I can't figure that out yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that I can do that. I do have a conflict, and whether I can clear that conflict and whether I can spend that kind of block of time that day.
What would we do there besides pass out chips?
Yeah, it's like all the students come, they bring these boxes of chips and all this, and just stuff I guess they got at Costco. And then they have all these baggies, and all the students are hanging out in the tent, and they fill these baggies, with like a gift pack, and it's finals week, right? It's like, this is for finals week. And they're like throwing these things. I even have a video from last year or last semester. And it's like, everybody's, oh yeah. And everybody's kind of having a good time. And there's this whole kind of a party atmosphere. And the students are all flopped out all around the empathy tent. And then at the end of it, we had a big empathy circle in the empathy tent. That was the first time I showed them how to do empathic listening. So it's a really great way to kind of end the semester. And it's the empathy tent being on Sproul Plaza, being associated with this cornucopia of gift giving, kind of stuff.
Doritos.
Of Doritos and, any kind of chips. It's all kinds of stuff that they had. So anyway, so if you guys can make it, that would be great. I don't know, Bill, is that?
I'll see. I don't know yet.
Okay. Then intro, left, right. Yeah, there was, I was trying to get an empathy circle going with, there was someone that we did a sort of a pre-circle with, Aaron, who's Punks for Progress. And I was trying to get someone on the right. And there was someone who, a guy named Ben, who's actually came by the empathy tent and before and said he liked dialogue. I've been trying to get him, it just hasn't worked. So it's been like a lot of work to try to line that up. So that was just one that hasn't really come together for an empathy circle. I don't know if I mentioned it last time that when we set up the empathy tent, last time we did a mediation dialogue at the empathy tent, and it just worked really well between a leftist woman and a conservative woman there at City Hall. So that worked really well. And Virginia, she didn't make it. I think she's out of town, but she was interested in doing some empathy circles with the homeless who are camped out there in Berkeley. So that might be another project. So that's kind of the state is, and if anybody can meet on Friday, 10 a.m. to talk about curriculum. I've tried curriculum projects. I've failed. It's like there's something in me that is like anti-curriculum. It's like I just want to find somebody who can kind of hold the structure because I cannot. I don't know what it is. It's almost like I have the curriculum gene kind of turned off. So I think it's something that's needed.
To me, it seems like one could make it over. You could overcomplicate it. You have to, there's the process. There's the critical stuff people need to read. I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but I think one could overcomplicate it too.
Well, that could be. Maybe I'm too deep into it or something.
Well, the idea is to make the modules simple, and then you build on those, and you can make it as complex as you want.
Also, the best illustration is like some dialogue or something where stuff happens where you can point stuff out. So, one of the questions is, do you have video? Can we use all this video you've got?
And I started on that a little bit. This is probably a month ago, I looked at a bunch of empathy recordings that Edwin had archived, and I picked like 4 or 5 or 6 that I thought were good example, that had good stuff in them. And I was going to try to edit them together into something that showed certain kinds of examples of things. And I think we actually made a list of the skills that we wanted to demonstrate and the common problems that happen that we wanted to have examples of. Mm-hmm. And so we got that far, and I hadn't started editing yet.
Listen, this friend of mine, she has like 14, she said she's figured out there are like 14 things that people do that are not listening, basically, that she's identified. And I don't know, everybody's got their thing, but it was an interesting way to think about it. I thought, just to even have these very defined types of non-listening
Yeah, I
behavior.
think my own experience as a teacher is that it's much more powerful to focus on what people should do, not what they shouldn't do. Because if you
Right.
teach them a lot about what they shouldn't do, then they wind up just not wanting to talk at all, because they're
Right.
just afraid they're going to make all the mistakes that you've told them about.
Yeah, I mean, I thought what she's doing, her approach is totally different than the way you guys are doing this or we're doing this. It's different to me, but it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to hear what she has to say. So,
Well,
okay.
what came down for me was the empathy circle is just the starting point, and it's just been kind of the most effective I've found. At one level, it's kind of like the motivation for people doing it has been hard to do. In a sense, people are getting really excited about doing it and kind of staying with it, because it takes a lot of time to just keep practicing.
But it's easier to stay with it when there's actually conflict. When people feel it, it's one thing to do it as practice, but I personally find it much easier to stay in the process, or if there's a subject that's really interesting, I find it not personally as interesting when we're just what do I want? I don't really have anything to talk about. We're just practicing. I'll just talk about the weather, It's not nearly as interesting to me as if we're really working on something, whatever it is,
Yeah.
That's true.
So, and she said something interesting. She said one of the things that, there's research, I guess, that shows that, people can't speak nearly as fast as we can process. So, people are bored. I mean, it's a simplification, but people are bored when people are speaking. And that's why you have to train yourself not to be bored, essentially, and to focus and listen, and that was also what she was saying about visualizing. While somebody's speaking, you can be visualizing your imagination of what they're saying, like a little movie of that's what she was saying. I don't know. I just focus on listening, but I thought that was an interesting idea that, it's partly that, we have our own processes that we have to shut down because we are actually capable of listening and speaking at the same time. I mean, musicians listen and play simultaneously, and they can do both simultaneously. And Edwin and I had a session once where we were not doing the process, but we were both super focused, and I felt like we could basically stay connected totally the whole time without doing the process at all. It was like a state of mind that one could be in, and I'm just going on here. But I mean, I think one of the things that gets lost in all of this, that for me, I understood through actually playing what it is to play music and be in a space with other people. This process, when it's working properly, gets you into the same kind of common space that people get into when they're playing music. And it's a feeling, actually, and you can talk about it all you want, but until you experience it, you're not going to know what it is. So you have to do the process to experience it.
Yeah. Well, I saw a video of Parker Palmer, who you talked about. It's exactly what he is saying. He's saying, we do this stuff and I can talk about it, but you won't understand it until you kind of do it. So that was his thing. So, okay, well, I didn't want to keep us over. We're doing an hour and a half. And so this whole topic of a curriculum is, there's a lot to really explore there. And so we're kind of taking that on. And I'm kind of looking forward to that. I've got I got tons of material on it. It's just kind of giving it a structure. Just doing it by myself is just not working. I need kind of that community to kind of work together with, and that kind of. So I'm kind of looking forward to kind of getting that going. So that's it.
Right. Okay.
Maybe just get a quick. How did the meeting go? Today for everyone. Just a quick couple words. For me, it's like always great to connect with you all. I mean, it feels really good to connect.
For me, it was really good. I had a slight worry that Indy left because she felt like she couldn't participate, or there was some other reason than she had another appointment. I was worried if she left because it wasn't satisfying for her in some way. I don't know that that's true, but I wondered about it. And other than that, I was happy. I'm happy with the meeting.
Very satisfying. I look forward to meeting Spencer Sims and continuing to be progressive.
Yeah, Spencer didn't answer me today, but he was traveling, so I'm giving him a break. We'll see. Hope I'll get him tomorrow.
I enjoyed the meeting, and it was encouraging to see how things are developing.
Okay, great. Okay, then see you next time, next week, all the other different meetings.
On Friday.
Bye.
I'll see you tomorrow, Edwin.